Hey team. So you may recognize this. This is from something that we did a long while ago, back in week 3. So we're going to jump back in there. I want you guys to be thinking about the types of assets you could be using. I don't want you to feel constrained to just using Photoshop or Illustrator assets. You can bring in footage, you can bring in frame by frame, you can bring in 3D. It's all part of the compositing process. So I want to give you guys a bit of an example of how you may work with footage in this example. So if you've still got this file, you can jump straight into that one, or you can download it all from Canvas. We're going to go through a little bit of a green screening today. So the files are up on Canvas. I've got a new folder in here where I'm going to put my footage. So I'm going to go have this selected and go up to File and Import. And I'm going to start with this one, so Virtual Reality. Hit OK. Now this is footage, so we don't need to change it because that's the only option. Hit Import. Now we've got our video file in our project. I'm going to chuck it into my scene. It's quite a bit bigger than our actual scene, which is good. It means we can mess around with the scale and we're not going to lose any quality. I'm going to drop it down to 50. So that's a bit easier to work with. I'm going to also align it to the middle of our scene here. It's nice and organised. Cool. So now what we want to do is we want to composite him into our scene. But at the moment he's got a big green background. So that's really hard to work with. So we need to do something called keying. Now this is a effect that you'll apply, which is how you do a bit of green screen. So we're going to search up the top key. Now I've got all of these keying tools here. Now these are all the individual effects. They all do different things. They're all very detailed. What we're going to look at is the handy dandy cheap version, which is this guy here, the Key Light, Key Cleaner and Advanced Spill Suppressor. That is a combo preset of 3 different effects, and when they're combined together they do beautiful green screen cutting for us. So with our layer selected, we're going to double click Key Light, Key Cleaner, Advanced Spill Suppressor. And you'll see it's added 3 new effects, each of them tabbable. So Key Light, Key Cleaner and Advanced Spill Suppressor. And whenever you see this little FX, that means it's on, so you can see what an effect is doing by turning the little FX on. So this is off for now. So we'll leave it all as is, on or off as they come. Now on our key light, first thing we need to do, nothing's changed, we need to assign which colour to remove. So this screen colour here, we're going to go to the eyedropper and we're going to go whoop, get rid of the green. Not bad, not bad. It's already done a pretty darn good job. There's a bit of a green haze around there, and you can see you're losing a bit of these reflections as well. So what we're going to do to work with it to figure out what's going on, rather than working in this view where we've got all of our backgrounds and all that distraction as well, we're going to jump over to our view. Sorry, working with small screens. Change our view from intermediate result to screen matte. We're just going to see this black and white. Now what we want for good green keying on a green screen is only black and only white. None of this messy grey business. So to do that, we're on our screen matte view. So we're going to go to our screen matte settings, twirl that down. We're going to adjust our clipping of the black and the white values. So we're going to pump up our clip black a little bit, just so all that grey pull back. All this grey here, I want to get rid of that. So nice and solid black. Make sure that you're zoomed out enough to see the whole screen. And then the clip white, we're going to go the opposite direction. Going to go down to a little bit lower. So we're getting rid of this bit here. So it's one solid piece. This is a bit trickier because this is a reflection, so it's going to do weird stuff. That's cool. So that is a nice solid 2-colour piece now. So we can go back to our intermediate result. Doing intermediate just because final result is very render heavy. Cool. Still a little bit of a hazy business happening. Now this is where we'll get into some of the more detailed stuff in a bit. You can mess around with the screen blur to try and fix that up. You can also do that with the screen softness. So it's just blurring those edges so it's not as clean cut. That's also what the key cleaner does. So we can scrub that number up a little bit and you can see a slight change there. If I zoom in, maybe I'll see it a bit better. So see how it kind of blurs it? That's obviously too far. So I'll put it back to 10. If this was on 0, what it does is you've got those clean cuts like you've actually cut it out with scissors. So it kind of ruins the illusion that it's blending in. So leave it on 10. Again, this is just our default, so we can just leave that as it is for now. But this guy here, we're going to turn that on. Amazing. Fixed. Boom. Gone. So this gets rid of anything green, which is on the outer edge, and this reflection here. Boop. So if you have a green screening with any reflective surfaces, that's going to be something you have to deal with a lot, is these reflections of the green. You'll often also get a lot of green on the skin, which is why you want to have your model as far away from the green skin as you can, so you don't get shadows and you don't get reflections on them. But this advanced spill suppressor helps that out a bit. I'm really sorry about my sniffing too. I think I might be coming down with a cold again. Alright, so that is pretty much it. That's a whole dude key screened. Key screened? Green screened. In all of 7 minutes. Amazing. Now if we want to chuck him into our scene, I'm going to pop his anchor point down here. Our scene's already set up, so as we did last week, could use a camera, could use a null. In this case I've used a null, so they're all 3D layers, so I want him to be 3D along with them. So I'm going to go to, the end of my timeline. And I'm going to pop that anchor point back again. So the end of my timeline where everything is set in frame, and this is the point where I'm going to make it 3D because I've moved my world around, so I want to make it all line up at the very end. And then I'm going to parent him to my camera. So everything else is parented to the camera, so it's moving the world around rather than moving a camera around the world. Cool. Move him over a little bit, it's a bit in the way. Sweet. Now let's see how it's moving. I might put this on quarter. Oh, it's taking ages. Should have ran previewed this first. Sure, guys. I didn't press play. Never mind. It's fine. So keep in mind, footage does take longer for the processor to work than just a simple vector file. Anything other than vectors is the fastest type of file. Photoshop would be after that. video files, and then all your fancy effects and stuff on top of that. So 3D elements, all that kind of thing. Just be aware of that. Cool, so he's in the space, he moves with it. I might want to frame him a little bit better. So part of your animation principles and design elements and principles as well that we will be assessing on the next task. Make sure you're thinking about those. Is your message being lost because there's too much happening in the scene? I want to be looking at that cow first and then come into this guy. So I'm going to animate him. Even though he does move with the camera, he's going to have a little bit of a move into the scene as well. I actually want his head turn to line up with Spaceman. It comes in a bit early at the moment. That's better. Actually, I'm gonna get his action looking right first, and then I'll move it, because then I can line up my keyframes more easily. Okay, so this first frame, I don't want his big poof head to be there at all, so I'm just going to move it straight down. Here. I want that easing to be the same, so we can use F9 or right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, fabulous. Now he's not going to be in the scene at the start, which is great. Boop. I want that head turn to happen about there. Sweet. Now I'm going to grab my keyframes and bring them back. So whenever you move a layer, remember the keyframes are going with it. So I want those keyframes to still line up with this here. Cool. Actually, I might drop it down a bit more there. That's a bit weird still. Get rid of that one because we don't need it no more. Better. So first start the very early part, focusing on the cow, and then ooh, look at all this stuff. And his little head turn brings us to look at Spaceman. So each of their actions is directing the next. So I want you guys to be thinking about that on your next assessment. Is the story clear? Is there too much going on? This is probably a little bit too fast. It's all a little bit overwhelming. You definitely wouldn't want more than this going on. Alright, so he's in the scene. He kind of stands out from it though. His colouring's a bit off. So I'm going to chuck him under the overlay that I had. Cool. So he blends in, matches the scene, but he's a bit too red. He looks a bit too overblended. So this is something that you're going to have to consider when you're working with footage and other types of assets. How do you make them work cohesively? So in your photo imaging class, you may have worked with levels before. So I'm going to do that here. So I'm going to use my color correction. There's heaps of color correction tools. Remember, color in this case is American, so it's spelled without a U. So you've got all sorts of color correction tools that you can use in here. Basically anything that you'd use in Photoshop is also available in After Effects. So I'm going to use levels. Again with the layer selected. Ta-da! Double click. And then I have control over each channel. So red, green, blue all together, as well as red, green, blue individually. So he's looking a bit flushed. So I'm countering it to my overlay because I still want him to be under it so it kind of works together. So I'm gonna give him a bit more green and a little bit more blue. If I turn this FX on and off, you can see what difference you've made. So it's just a little bit. And then overall, oops, wrong one. Just a little smidgy. Pump that contrast back up a little bit now that I've taken some of it out. Cool. So it looks a bit better. It's still a bit flat in the world though. So something else I'm going to add is a layer style. This isn't an effect. This is a thing that you apply much like a repeater. It's directly onto the layer. So with it selected, right click, layer styles, I'm going to add a drop shadow. Sounds tacky as heck, but bear with me. So drop shadow, you've got all these settings, like loads of settings. Oh, oops. Sorry. So we've got, your blending mode, color, opacity, global light, that's to relate to actual lights. We haven't got any, so it's not going to connect to that. The angle, distance, spread, size, noise, and something else. Layer, knocks out, drop shadow. Not sure what that does. I've never played with that. So we want to pump up the spread so we can see it a bit more. And you can see there's like this smooth gradient popping out behind him. So spread is basically the feathering. How much away from that point. Distance is how far away is it from the object. Spread is how much wider than the object. So if you pump that up, if you go higher, all the way up to 100, that means that this is going to be perfectly crisp edged. Yeah? Because if I drop that down, that means it's going to be perfectly blurry. So it depends what look you want. Just to work with, I'm going to pump the spread up just so I can see very clearly what I'm doing. Now I want this distance. The moon is casting light. So I want this distance so it actually moves with the direction. It's not just perfectly surrounding him. And that angle, you can play around with that and get that looking right, but I definitely want it down. It's actually probably pretty darn close before. Cool. Alright, so now we can get our size and our spread looking good. What? Cool. And now this colour, the black's a bit obvious, so I'm going to change that to this reddy kind of Albany. That looks heaps nicer. I'm going to drop it down as well, so 45. So again, a little eyeball, turn it off and on, see the difference. So it's not major, it's just enough to pop him out of the space a little bit. And by using colours already in the scene, it's not clashing and making it look muddy and dirty. Cool, and now we've got a filler in our scene. Amazing. He's just so darn impressed. Cool. So that's that. That is basic keying. So if you can find footage that is perfectly crisp, very clean green screen like this, no big shadows, no big creases in your fabric, you're going to be fantastic. You can film this yourself, take a big sheet and pop it behind your subject. Then you've got free reign to do whatever you like. Make sure it's well lit as well. You could use card. There's all sorts of different ways you could do it. That's going to give you the best result. However, you may find that you're working with footage that is a little bit muddier. If you want to use creatures, for example, file import will go through a little bit more detail on how you could work with that. So this Pexels video that's up there, download that. Again, in our footage file, now I'm going to bring him into our scene. I'm going to solo him so I'm not distracted by everything else for now and doesn't use up our computer power. Drop the scale down to 50. It all fits into our scene. Sorry. Okay, you right? Sorry if I get distracted, guys. There's a cat on my lap. It's very cute. Okay. So, same dealio as before. We've got our little hero, which is our little monkey in this case, being freaking cute. And then we've got a green background. It's a lot muddier though. There's all these little artifacts going on. So we want to be able to cut those out, which we can do. It's a little bit more convoluted, but we're going to go through it. Pretty cute. Alright, so with the layer selected, we're going to go into our effects and presets again, the key, and we're going to go to the really long one, this one here. So the triple threat. First thing, we're going to set our screen color. So with our eyedropper, dunk, sweet, and then you can see all the black is what is being removed. So not bad, but certainly not great. So we want to again switch it from intermediate result to screen matte. So you can see, so anything that's grey is semi-transparent. We don't want any grey there, and we don't want any grey here, as much as possible anyway. We certainly don't want any white over here, because white is what will be shown. So, screen matte, file down our options, and we are going to clip this. So drop the black as much as we possibly can until it starts to impact the monkey. And then clip white, pull the other way. Oh. So as soon as you switch these over, so when the values cross, it will completely invert and poop itself. So be wary of that, so you can't have matchy numbers. That's as close as we can get. So 67. Not too bad. Heaps of artifacting going on here, which isn't awesome. So we'll go back to our intermediate result. We can see we've got all this nonsense going on in the screen. So we're going to want to clean that up. Now this is when we play with our pre-blurs and our screen blur. So pre-blur, pump that up. And you can see all these things kind of blur out and it kind of bleeds that gap. So undo that. You can see it also does it around his fur. So you lose a lot of that detail. So that's okay, because we're going to get that back. So we'll try 15, see how that goes. Screen softness as well. So you can start to see these guys are disappearing. It starts to get like a little halo-y effect, which is it's pretty av. It's a good start. What's really going to clean it up is this key cleaner down here. So we've got our additional edge radius. And that what that's doing is, if we zoom in here, pop you on full momentarily. You can see if that's back on 10, it's all blurred and hazy. If this is back on 30, nice crisp fuzz, beautiful. So you can cut and blur things out and still have that nice crisp edge. Now the other thing we want to play around with is the alpha contrast. Yeah, so you can see that makes a big difference. So it is cutting all the way in. And it's also cutting out a lot of those nasty artifacts. So there's no like magical number that's going to work every time. This is very much you have to work with it. Experiment to see what values work together. Okay, turn this back off. Full. Ready. See how that goes. more skin softness. Oh, look at that. It's gone. So just ignore these guys. We don't need to worry about those, and I will show you why in just a jiffy. What I'm worried about now is just his head. He's lost a bit of his form there. Boop. You also don't want to go too crisp because then that is when you get artifacting. If there's a breeze and that particular strand of hair flutters, that is not going to be masked out well. Let's see, how does that look if we play it? Alrighty, so we had a bit of a crash there. I think we're back to where we were. So I've got my monkey. I'm just going to save this. Bear with me. Over the top of my videos. Poo. Oh. So when I play that, I can see that's nice and clear. It's not jumping all over the place. It looks pretty damn good. But what we do have is all this nonsense. So, simple as heck. What we're going to do is we're just going to mask it out. Just going to grab this pen tool with the layer selected. Grab the monkey. I'm going to rush through this because hay fever season has well and truly started. There's a cat on my lap. And talk through it without a snotty voice in class. So make sure you're asking questions if anything hasn't made sense. If you want to use this technique, we think you might in the future. Cool. Now with a mask, when you are using footage, I would always recommend that you add a bit of a feather. So twirling down our mask properties and just give it a bit of a blur. You don't want to go crazy because our feet will disappear. So just a handy. Because that means if something does pop in, it's kind of subtle, it's not a hard edge. I'll just pop through. Now I know he pops his head down at one point, so I just want to double check that that's all cool. Yeah, it works. No points where he's popping out. Great! So that's it, that's our monkey. We can also chuck him into the space. So I'm going to send his anchor point down there. Make him 3D as well. Except actually, I'm going to make him 3D when he's with the cow because I'm going to put him with that cow. Bit of scale, drop him down. Whoa, too far. I'm just going to make him rotate through space because why not? And then one full rotation. Now his position, oops. I didn't parent him to the camera, that's why that didn't work. Massive, weird monkey. And P. And where is my cow for reference? Let's see. 2,565. So I want that to be the same Z position. But forward a bit. Then I'm going to chuck him way behind with Mega. Damn it. Monkey and the Bears. I need to change my cow's position pathway. Boop 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 boop. Gonna collide. Is he snoring right now? Sweetie. Why is that not moving down yet? Stop snapping. I must have overlapped a little bit, hey? Cute. And that is how you can bring real life footage into your scene as well. If you want to, there's another file up there. There's a cat you can chuck in there. But that's enough to go through in class, I reckon. Yeah, pretty cool. So next week will be the last official shoot. I'm going to go through one new thing that we haven't done yet. And then that's it. It will all be work in progress. So make sure you bring stuff to class so we can smash this. Yeah, I want you guys to make something that you're real proud of. Oh my god, look at that monkey, it's adorable. Oh, stop it. So yeah, make sure you bring stuff to class to show. I'm the most useful to you when there is something that I can help you out with and give you feedback on. A vague idea that you just came up with at the start of class, I can't help heaps. Cool! Good work, everybody!